Today, we are diving deep into some of the most profound ideas ever put to paper, all thanks to the incredible work of Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist, but also a Holocaust survivor, and his experiences led him to ask one of the biggest questions imaginable.
I mean, really think about that for a second. What's left when you've been stripped of your home, your family, your profession, even your name? This question wasn't just theoretical for Frankl. It was the reality he lived. And what he discovered is something that we're going to explore through a pretty unique lens.
You see, our source material stages this amazing imaginary conversation. It pulls in insights from thinkers like Nelson Mandela and Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn, and of course, Frankl himself. It's like having them all in a room together, all tackling that one central question. It's a really powerful way to see how these brilliant minds all arrive at a similar, essential truth.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about the one freedom that can never be taken away. Then, we'll get into why our modern, comfortable lives can sometimes feel so empty. After that, we'll tackle the heavy stuff, finding meaning in suffering. We'll explore love as a kind of inner survival kit, and finally, we'll see what Frankl's advice looks like for us today.
All right, let's jump right in with that foundational idea. When everything on the outside is gone, every liberty, every possession, what's left? What is that one thing inside of you that can never, ever be conquered? So the big question on the table, which our source poses to these figures who lived through unbelievable hardship, is this one. And their answers, well, they all point to the same invisible internal space. First up, Nelson Mandela. After decades in prison, his take was this: they can lock up your body, but you still decide if you're going to let bitterness and hatred shape who you are on the inside. You still get to choose to be honorable. The moment you give that up, they've truly won. And then you've got Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn, speaking from his experience in the Soviet gulags. For him, it was about refusing to lie to yourself. The final freedom is holding on to that line between good and evil inside your own soul, even when the whole world outside is trying to erase it. And that's where Frankl brings it all home. In the concentration camps, he saw that even when people had nothing, literally nothing, they still had this one last choice. They could choose their attitude. They could decide how they would face their suffering. And that right there, that response, that is our final, untouchable freedom. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's intense, but I don't live in a concentration camp. How does this apply to me? Well, that's where things get really interesting. Because for many of us, the challenge isn't a lack of freedom, but an excess of comfort that somehow leaves us feeling empty. Let's just break this down. On one side, you have a life of comfort. It's all about feeling good, avoiding pain, and asking, what can I get out of this? It's passive. On the other side, you've got a life of meaning. That's about purpose, about growth, and asking a totally different question. What can I give? It's active. It's a shift from just having things to focusing on who you are being. Frankl actually had a name for this modern problem: the existential vacuum. You know that feeling? That kind of chronic boredom or inner numbness that is this all there is kind of vibe? That's it. It's when we have all the means to live, but no real meaning to live for. And this quote just nails it. We think we want equilibrium, a life of no stress, no problems. But that's not what we're built for. We are hardwired to be oriented toward meaning. Comfort keeps us safe, but meaning is what makes us feel alive. Okay, so this leads us to what is probably the most challenging and misunderstood part of Frankl's entire philosophy: suffering. How on earth can we find meaning in something so awful? And, crucially, how do we talk about it without glorifying it? So let's just ask the question directly. Does suffering itself have any inherent meaning? This is so important because a lot of people get this wrong. And the answer, according to Frankl, is a clear, emphatic no. Suffering in and of itself is not good. So let's be crystal clear here. This is not about saying pain is great or that tragedy is something to be praised. And it's definitely not about going out and looking for suffering. That's not wisdom, that's just messed up. What it does mean is that when suffering is unavoidable, when it's a part of your reality that you can't change, the meaning is found in your response. It's in the courage you find, the dignity you hold on to, and how you choose to carry that unbearable weight. This quote is everything. Say it with me. Pain is not the value. The human answer is the value. The meaning isn't in the horrible thing that's happening. The meaning is in the choice we make because of it. It's what we build in that space between stimulus and response. So if our response is what truly matters, what fuels that response? Especially when you're in the darkest of places. For Frankl, one of the most powerful and surprising answers was love. Seriously, just pause and think about that. When there is nothing outside of you to hold on to, no comfort, no hope, nothing, how can a simple memory, just an image in your mind, become a fortress?
This is what Frankl experienced firsthand. He would have conversations in his head with his wife, and that connection, that love, became more real and more powerful than the brutal reality around him. It wasn't just an escape. He called it a form of spiritual resistance. It was an anchor to his humanity.
All right, so how do we take all of this incredible, hard-won wisdom and bring it into our world? Our world of endless distractions, notifications, and a constant low-grade anxiety. What would Frankl say to us right now?
Well, first, he'd probably point out this crazy paradox. We have more choices, more freedom, more entertainment than any people in history, and yet so many of us feel more empty, not more fulfilled. All that choice, without a direction, just leaves us feeling scattered and drained.
So what can we do? Well, the source material boils it down to this practical 3-step prescription. First, stop blaming your circumstances. Take radical responsibility for your own response. Second, flip the script. Instead of asking, what do I want from life, start asking, what is life asking of me right now? And third, don't wait for meaning to just show up. Go find a burden, a responsibility, and voluntarily shoulder it.
And this idea isn't just a relic of the past. You hear it echoed powerfully by modern thinkers too. Meaning isn't some fleeting feeling you stumble upon. It's the byproduct of commitment. It's what shows up after you've decided to carry something that matters. So we end with this. According to Frankl, life is always asking us a question. Every situation, every day, every moment, it's posing a question. And we can't avoid answering. Our lives, ultimately, are the answer we give. So the only real question left is, what's yours going to be?